and this is Factorio Space Exploration Plus. And we are over here at the beginning of the factory so that I can show you I have cleaned up many things. We're still running this little stone setup here temporarily. But all of the other smelting... Oh, also I just realized I cut power over here. Not good. I want that running. There. Simple and easy. But you'll notice everything is picked up over here that can be picked up, including our power setup that we haven't been using in a very long time. It's all gone. We have removed all of the things that are unnecessary from this area, and when this stone and this coal is completely gone, this will be empty space, and we will set up how we're going to unload things. Of course, everything that we unload over here will be temporary. Our first and initial base is temporary. It'll stay here for quite a long time, but eventually what's going to happen is I will stop sending resources here as we are constantly building new builds and expanding out. And I mean, we already have our setup running for making stone bricks, sand, and glass over here, and it is backed up because we're not actually consuming any of this. It has buffered warehouses full of resources, stone, glass, and lots of sand ready for our disposal. Same thing's going on with our copper and our iron. And this is where we're going to come to what I've been learning a little bit off camera, messing around with. Let me head down there to where we are smelting steel. We don't have a official setup for steel. What we're doing is borrowing from our iron lines here and turning that into steel. And I learned that you can press Control N and it will bring up this lovely little item, which is from the max rate calculator, I think that's what it's called, mod. And it is absolutely wonderful. Thank you for the comment about this mod and how to use it. It is wonderful. I can do that and see that right here, what I have is items per second in the max rate calculator, and I'm outputting 46.332 steel per second. And yes, that's more than what a blue belt can handle. And you say, okay, but I did 2 lines, right? I didn't do just one, I did both of these together, and that is true. Because both of these together are then combined right down here to make the 1 line of blue belt that comes out. This line is a fully saturated blue belt's worth output. And if we do the math for the input, each belt takes 45 items. So if I were to be inputting full blue belts in, that's 45, 90, 135, and 180. So I would need at least 180 a second input in order to make this work at its maximum output. And if you look at what it actually requires, it requires 175.5 input, which is less than 180. So this is using slightly less than the 4 blue belts of iron in and making a full blue belt of steel out. And that's going to be important because we're going to set up our ratios based off of that when we do a steel build. I will be building, I want 4 blue belts worth of steel out. That's right, I want 180 steel a second. That sounds like a monster of a goal to get to, but we can do it. So if I need 4 blue belts out, then I need 4 times this number of inputs, right? If it takes 4 to make 1, then I need 16 blue belts of iron in order to make 4 blue belts of steel. So that is going to be a massive setup where each one of these that produces 1 blue belt of steel is going to require 4 of these smelter setups that produce blue belts of plate. So we're going to need a very large area for our steel processing, and I'm thinking about probably doing it up here. We already have a pretty decent size area. I might do it on the top side We might run into the oil and a few other resources. We'll have to look at where we're going to place that. I'm still thinking I want to put it here. It's going to be an absolute monster of a processing setup, but I'm fairly certain this is where I want it, and I think I have enough room here. If we look at it, I'm going to have 4 of these and essentially 2 of those, and that'll definitely fit up here. We just have to worry about the belts, the train unloading and loading areas, and we can definitely set that up. So let's think about this. I'm going to need 16 smelters, and I'm going to need 16 belts and 16 lines coming out here. So if this is 4, so this setup will work just fine. We can just take a copy of this and go ahead and build the second smelting line, and I'm probably going to turn these. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Instead of having these run up and down, I'm going to do like I did here and have them run horizontally, east to west instead of north to south. And that should fit better in the area that we're going to go to. So that's what we're going to set up right now. And we're going to head up. We're going to race this train. Can we beat it? No. You know, if I swapped out all of these roboports for jetpacks, we could beat it. But that's okay. I like my roboports when I need them. I do swap them on every now and then, but for the most part, I've been using the base's robots to do everything. So we need to look at the fact that we're going to need room. No, because we're going to have this same setup up here above this main line as well, but it'll be on the top side. So the bottom side will be open to us completely. And I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to work from, instead of like I've been doing, I've been setting up where we offload trains, then where it's processed, then over where we load trains, and so on and so forth. I'm going to start with where we load the trains with the processed resources and work our way back, because I'm going to be loading right over here. So I need to figure out where's the best part, and I'm only going to be loading 1 train's worth, so I don't need a massive setup. What I will do is make it to like I did for the loading of our stone mining up here. I set this up to be very fast loading by putting warehouses on either side, which hold very large buffers, and then having it load both sides of the track. That way you have a lot of inserters moving material at once. And I understand that I'm only going to have 4 blue belts output, so technically I would only be able to fully use one side, but what I'll do is split it up so that half of them go here and the other half go to the other side. And I'm going to try and balance that so that these are loaded in a balanced fashion. That way when a train shows up, if these aren't fully saturated, they will load. Of course, I'm looking at the stone, but I'm talking about what I will do for the steel setup. And I can probably grab this, actually, thinking about it right now. I can do this setup and swap it, just feed it with the steel, and I'll have to work on the balancer that I choose. But I'm going to run over here and grab that as a blueprint, minus the belts, obviously. And whoop, also minus all of the miners. We don't need the miners, and we don't need any kind of belts in this blueprint. I will keep everything else except for these items. I don't need these right down here, so that should have negated those, and we have just a setup. And this will be where we load all of our steel. So let's take a look. Absolutely. And it's much more compact than our loading area down here where we're building for multiple trains to be loading and leaving. Now I've built roboports everywhere over here, and there's still some trees. I can't believe there's still trees around here. Hold on. That's a problem, and that has to be fixed now. The trees. The trees are the true enemy. Okay, I feel better now. I'm okay with the foliage on the ground. It's the trees. They are the problem. But what I want to do is load. And I want to be somewhere in this top corner, but I don't want to be too close to the intersection that when a steel train is trying to come out and get onto the line, that it causes problems. So I probably want to leave enough space that it won't interfere with the workings of this intersection. And my trains that I'm building are 2 heads, 4 cargos, and then another 2 heads, or engines. So it looks like I need to be at least past this point with my breakaway. And that's probably going to work out pretty good anyways. I will have to move these things. Hopefully it doesn't cut all the power. No, those are powered somewhere else, and that's perfect. So we will come right over here. And there's no interference whatsoever. That's a first. Usually something is placed in the way, and will those connect if I take out the extras? They sure will, but the problem may be that might be a little too close to the train, and I didn't like that weird power line. I'm going to do something more like that, and I'll put down the roboports again. And this gives us where our inbound and outbound can be. And like I said, I want to be as close to this top corner as possible. So where is our blueprint at that we just grabbed? This. Do we change it around completely and do something more along the lines of that? See, now that's interesting. I'm thinking more that I could even turn this around. Actually, I like that a lot better. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to change our mind. The poor bots are going to have a cow. They're already on the way with all these items, and then I'm just going to say, nope, don't do it. I was only kidding. I wish there was a way. There may be, and I just don't know it, but a way to get rid of just ghosted items. But I don't know it, so I'm going to make a mess of things as I manually do this. Okay. So let's look at that again. I already know. Let's bring out my robots and make use of them. These are going to have to go. Why didn't we grab this? Of all the things that you grabbed, you didn't grab one item. And there's a rock right over there. I don't want my bots to go grab that. I will let the system robots do that. So let's look at this again. Where was our blueprint? Here it is. Yeah, so I like this a lot better. This gets it nice and tight up in the corner. The only thing that I want to do is maintain some good spacing, so I'm not, really right up on the line, the main rail line over there, because the main rail line is going to have walls separating it, as you've already seen down there, so you can't just run across it and get smacked by a train. But also I like the way that looks. And then we're going to have walls up here, and I will have to move these roboports. Then I need to figure out what's a good spacing from inside this wall. I'm just going to remove these roboports temporarily inside of the rail network, the rail line. That is not what I meant to do. I meant to press J. Uh-oh. Why don't they have power? Aha! Because I have to come in here and put power lines in these weird spots. It's not in the blueprint itself, so I have to come in and add them. And I think it's right there. And then right there. And that completes this circuit around there with the big power poles. Okay, that's good, because I probably cut power out further and did not mean to. Need to put a radar. I'm just breaking everything that I had set up. Good news is, while I'm flying like this, I can't be hit by trains, I don't think. I'm pretty sure one has gone underneath me before while I was just hovering over the rail line. Alright, there's more trees! Unacceptable. And lots of rocks. I've been working very hard to clear this massive area that I claimed. However, no matter what you do, there'll always be more. Always. So, if we were to do spacing like normal, I think these are a full big power poles apart, which means that the line would be somewhere in here. And same thing for this one. Full power poles length apart without interfering with it would put it somewhere in that vicinity. And if I grab our blueprint, that's not the right one. This one is. Oh, messing everything up over here. I know that I want to be lined up like this. So we're going to drop it in there. And this will fit very neatly up into this corner, conserving a lot of space for us, and means that where we decide to connect will be very far away from our junction as well, which works out perfectly. In fact, if I just drop this in right where it's supposed to be, that looks wonderful. And then this is the line that you come to here. I want it to look decent, and we will actually swap this up. I don't like how this looks at all. In fact, there's no need in having the train come all the way out there. What we can do is right after that junction, just turn. Trying to make this look not horribly awful bad. Like so. So the trains will just come around and be inside of our stacker and waiting. And this stacker is way overkill. We already know that there's going to be one train here getting steel. So we may have a couple of trains that load and then go and hopefully don't unload as fast as I'm able to produce, because we'll have a problem then. But I'll only have a few trains here in the backlog waiting. What I would rather have is that the trains are waiting at offloading sites rather than waiting at the loading yard. Alright, let's see if we can do this neatly as well. And that works perfectly. So when the bots come build that, this is where our train will load steel. Once it's loaded, it can move on and go do what it needs to do elsewhere. But now that we have this, I need to figure out our steel processing. We're going to need to bring blueprints up here and plop them down. And I will need vision in this area. So we're going to need power. And I'm not waiting on the robots for this. I'll just do that. Because we need to make copies of this right here, this monster, and then I'll change. This was only temporary where they come down like this because of where I needed it for this area, where I needed the steel to go. It has to wrap back around and go up. So this will produce us steel blue belts. Where are the blue belts? Blue belts of steel. I like it. And we're going to put a beacon on here as well, so I understand this is a beacon to build. Okay. So if I come look up here, this is giant. And I'm going to need room to balance the 4 outputs. And this will only make 1, so I have to have 4 of these all together, and then room to balance them. So let's walk up here and see what we're going to do. I don't want to take up too much space. With the balancing on the output side. So let's take a look at this and say from about here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 spaces should be enough for me to combine the outputs and then balance them and loop them back around. So that's what we're going to do. Losing my mind over here. This one. This is our steel build. Also, how close do I want it to what will be wall over here? I think I want to leave a little bit of space in between. Maybe do 4, 8. I think 8's plenty. 8 tiles of space on the top side. So I want my blueprint to go down like so. There's 1. And another thing I want to think about is I don't want to cram these in too close together, as I need room for bot coverage. I need room to put down radars and roboports in between builds. But I can probably get away with doing 2 of these and then roboports in between. So like this, and then I'm going to come down to here and figure out what would look nice for some roboports. Roboports are 4 tiles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, they're 4 tiles big, and then I'll do a buffer on either side, like so. Which means I can continue with this blueprint on the other side of that. Now this is an absurd amount of industrial furnaces and beacons and modules. I don't even know if I have what it takes to build this thing right now. I'm hoping I do. But we are going to put it down and tell the robots to get over here and get busy. And oh, the power cables don't look good at all. I'll have to manually come in and change those. I want them to be in line with the ones that are placed in the build, but I don't want them connecting diagonally like that. It'll look awful. So we'll see what happens when the robots come in. If they make a mess of it, I'll manually come in with some copper cables in my inventory and swap things around. But I want to have roboport coverage of everything in my base. and plenty of charging stations. So whatever I do here, I'm going to copy and paste on either side. And I will also come underneath this with concrete and stone bricks and everything and make it look nice like we've started doing down here. And as I make builds more permanent, I will come underneath them and put the tile entities below them to make them look good. I'm going to put a radar right in here. I think it'll look nice sitting dead square in between those two. Same thing on this side. And then in between, we're just going to place our roboports. And one more radar. And then I will copy and paste this above and below our blueprint here. Look at the robots fly. There are a lot of them. And you see, they're running out of power, and I don't have enough places for them to charge along the way up here for the amount that I'm bringing right now. But this will be what produces the steel. What we need to do now is figure out how these are going to combine. And it's going to look a little something like this, where I come in with these two. This will make one blue belt's worth out. I can get rid of this. Oops, I just grabbed a bot right out of the air. Did not mean to do that. And then this one needs to come through here. And those will combine and continue up to here. And we're going to just repeat that pattern as we go down to each of these builds so that our one fully saturated blue belt is added to the end. And then we're going to do some balancing. So this is where this one will come up to here. I've got to make sure I don't combine the wrong lines. And that one will go there. Whoops. And that will give us our 4 blue belts output of steel, which will be amazing to get up and running. The amount of space that this is going to take is crazy because this is just what smelts the iron. Now we need to set up the iron smelting over here. And then I need to look at, do I need to move where I'm mining the stone and gathering the stone? Because this is incredibly large, as I expected. What I may do is change things up like I did here where I move that. I could come in with our smelting. Let's see. This is a setup that produces 8. 8 blue belts, so I need double this to produce enough iron. And then I need the room to separate it into each of those. So I'm looking at, do I do it like this and plop them down? Uh-oh. A robot was destroyed. A lot of robots are getting destroyed. Don't you worry, I've got something for you guys. Yeah, so this is an issue where I have that wall. They can get close enough to where they're hitting stuff, but I only have one turret that's shooting them. So what I'm going to say is maybe clear this up a little bit more so that they can get closer. And when they get closer, they'll be within range of more of my turrets, so they don't just get to sit there and do so much damage for such a long time. But I think that's probably going to be it for today's episode. It's probably going to get a little long at this point. We have the setup for the back end of our steel ready to rock and roll. I will balance this so that it has an offloading, and then I need to look at how we're going to smelt the vast amounts of iron plate that this monster of a blueprint is going to take. So if you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to hit that like button, and if you enjoy content like this and would like to see it on a regular basis, consider subscribing to my channel. I really do appreciate it. Everything that you guys do, all your comments, and subscribing to my channel. So thank you very much for that, and I will see you all next time.